Hello and welcome to Age of Empires Definitive Edition tutorial on the map Oasis. So Oasis can be a little bit daunting for new players because it looks empty and it looks scary with not a lot of food. But you'd actually be wrong here. Oasis is the map with the most food at the start guaranteed for every player. But it's a little bit different than most, so it might be a little bit difficult to start on. So I figured we'd make a tutorial for this and see how it goes. So basic, just send your villager to explore, you find your closed stone here, doesn't matter, you know there's a map page, no need to go there, spread out the villas over here. And now you're looking for your berries, 8 to 11 tiles from your town center like usual. Here you find your berries, you send your guys to make a granary over here. And now an important note over here, instead of just going to the berries with this, it's possible, and then you'd send this guy here to explore. It's better to find your gazelle with this new guy here and push the gazelle towards your TC here. Because on Oasis you always have a close spawn of gazelle. That's 11 to 14 tiles from your town center. It's just 3 tiles further than your berries. So your berry range is here, your gazelle range is here. Now the idea isn't to push every gazelle over here. The idea is to just push a gazelle over here quickly so you can get your food going. Now this guy over here, normally in this situation I would just kill a gazelle and start eating the gazelle to not have a drop off in a villager queue soon that you're going to see. But as an example here, I'm just showing you that you can put your 5th villager into the berries if you just haven't gotten your gazelle to the TC yet. And that way you'll have a little bit less struggles with your early villager production if your gazelle lure wasn't good enough yet. Now once you start hunting your gazelle over here, now you can see that I'm at 40 because I sent the one guy the berries and didn't take the gazelle right away. This is what happens, you'll be a little bit late here because of this, but it's not a big deal. It won't affect your time more than, I'd say, 5 and 10 seconds. Which of course can be a lot, but doesn't have to be. Now here you can see I sent this one guy to the wood here, then I sent one guy to explore again. These guys over here, you can see I've got 7 on food now because I sent the one to the berries late, so I have to take one patch of food from a gazelle here to equalize this. So now I can go exploring again. Like I said, Oasis has more food guaranteed close to your TC than any other map, so what we're doing here is we're looking for a second patch of gazelles. On top of the 6 close patch that we get on Oasis, we also have a patch of further away, that's 4 to 6, and that's roughly half the distance from the close gazelle to the further gazelle, so we know there are a range of around here. It's 18 to 22 tiles from your town center. Now on the way here you can see I found the close gold here because it has 9 patches of gold. I know it's the closest one. That turn comes 14 to 17 tiles from your town center if I recall correctly, and then there's an 8 patch of gold here that's in distance of 20 to 30 tiles from your town center. So here we just play our regular tool build order, nothing fancy. Here we find the second patch of gazelles. We just start getting more and more food here, so we'll be in time for the tool click. Just hunt your gazelles here. The only one we're missing right now, we're missing a further stone pile. We also get a second stone pile of 7. This is a stone pile of 8. There has to be one over here or over there because that's so close. So there's also a stone pile that's over 20 tiles away, like this gold over here. There's also a second 8 pile of gold somewhere over here at the same distance as this one roughly. So this is how you start your Oasis game. And if you look at where you can find your resources on Oasis, it's important to know that you're not looking for something that's not there. So you've maybe sometimes seen elephants. There might be an elephant somewhere here. They might not. That's not guaranteed. So if you're looking for exactly elephant and then you say, oh, I can't start because I didn't get an elephant. Yeah, no, that's just you not playing the map right. So here you can see we push the second gazelles. We kill them over there, there's a wood pit, we just take it over there. We could have pushed them all the way over here as well and made the wood pit by the midwood here. And by the way, there's a way we know this is the midwood because A, it's the right distance from the town center for a 1v1 play on a 4-player map. And because it has this large green around it. So this is telling me that this is the midwood. And that's going to be important later when we're thinking on how to get food in tool. So Here just push the gazelles, and now we can see we're starting to suffer from putting 5 on berries early because they run out at 5:30. Now we got 5 idle guys that have to walk all the way here to the gazelles, to the new pit to start gathering resources. And as we're 30 seconds away from a tool click and 5 villagers are walking here, and that's gonna be what denies us our 6-minute tool click basically. So if you put 4 on this instead, or if you put 5, then you take 1 away and switch it back to the gazelles, so you don't get into that situation where you'll be here waiting for your last 50-60 food that you could easily get. Now you can hear they're gonna drop it off here. I could have manually dropped this and gotten maybe 10 seconds faster click, and it's gonna be like 6:18 click time here. A little bit earlier you could see 6:17. If I didn't put the 5 guys here, that would have been like a 6:10 click or something. So Oasis is a little bit slower to start. Also, I would have gotten my first villager out earlier. I would have had more food earlier because the gazelle was already dead here. So you can see that it compounds over time, but playing like this, you can still play a normal tool build ordering. You've got your food, you've got your wood income, and it works just nicely here, no problems. I'm going to show you the map, and we can see what's on the map. So we can take a look on the specifics of Oasis. So here is a randomly generated Oasis. You just saw me play it blind, so you can see there's a 4 patch of your berries instead of the 6 to 7 patches you get on some maps, and the distance is the same, so 8 to 11 tiles from your town center for this one. Then you've got a very close patch of gazelle. Normally if you're playing a map, your gazelle patch is at maximum this range where you see the 4 patch on Oasis, but on Oasis the patch is closer. So this is 11 to 14 tiles from your TC for your gazelle patches. So you know, if you find your berries first, you make a ring a little bit further, you'll always find your first batch of gazelles. Then you have your second batch of gazelles at 18 to 22, so roughly half distance more from these gazelles to these gazelles. So if these are here, the second patch would be somewhere here. So you know a ring to look around for your TC to find your starting resources. You also get a patch of 2 to 3 berries that are 22 to 35 tiles from your town center, but they're always only found on the midwood terrain. So you can never find these, let's say here. They'll always be here or here, where they can be close enough to your TC and also be part of the middle wood. Now the elephant here is randomly generated, so that isn't gonna help us in any way. For sometimes you find it, you're lucky, sometimes there are no elephants. That just happens. You can't count on that on Oasis. The forests are also random, so sometimes you get plenty nice wall spots like here. You could wall in your stone, play slingers from the hill here, might be very good. Sometimes you might have this one patch here and everything else is just empty until the midwood. That's luck. And you heard me talk about this and say that this is the 8th pile of stone because it's so close. You have a close pile of 8, which is roughly 15 tiles from your town center, and then you have a further pile of stone which is only 7, and this is further like 20 to 30 tiles from your town center. So the same thing applies to the golds. You've got your full 8 patch of gold here, which is close to your town center, like 15 tiles, and then you've got 2 further tiles which are 20 to 30 tiles away from your town center. So these are what you can expect to be looking for. On top of this, the map also has natural gazelles and natural berries. So if you take a look around the map, you can see there are the natural elephants. This is a natural berry spawn over here. So this is not our town center spawn, it's this one. This one is a little bit too far away. It ends like here for the 35 tiles. But you can also find these. So this cannot be a tell about a player being close because these also spawn naturally. You also get natural spawns of gazelles over here, so if you find a patch of 4 to 6 gazelles, that's also no tell about the placement. Now, if you were to start to explore from here, and let's say you wanted to find your enemy, and you start coming this way, and you run into this stone pile here. This is only 6 stones. 6 stones is never a player spawn for stones, and stones are always like 35 tiles away from a player minimum. So you know, because this is here, there cannot be a town center here. It would be too close. The same thing goes for the pile of gold. If you have a 6 pile of gold, that's also always a map spawn, never a player spawn. And the same thing applies. So because this is here, there cannot be a town center. This area has to be empty. This is no one spawn here. So you just keep following this. Even though there is a larger area here that could fit a player. Because of this gold, you see this, you know this cannot be a player spawn. But if you go the other way around, you go here. And then you see this turn, it goes all the way to narrow like this. You know this is not a player spawn because this is not large enough for a player to spawn in. This would be too close to the mid-wood. There's not enough space in between. Oasis mid-space is, if I remember correctly, something like 10 to 16 tiles for the base and maybe like 4 to 9 tiles for the mid-wood. So this is about the minimum you can have the distance from the town center from the mid-wood. So you know if you go this way, the enemy isn't here. So if you've come all the way here, you found this gold, so you know there cannot be an enemy here. You come this way, you know it's narrow, so you know it cannot be here. By process of elimination, the enemy can only be here. So he could be here, or he could be here. If you're coming from around here, you see the elephant, you see the gazelle. Like I said before, these are not tells. You cannot be sure if they're map spawns or not. You follow this, you find 2 berries. Again, could be a map spawn, you don't know yet if he's here or if he's here. If you're coming from the other side, you see a couple of elephants. Okay, that doesn't tell you anything. You follow this and you see gold. Then you explore this gold and count. Wait a second, this is a lot of gold. So there's an 8 spawn of gold here. And there's an 8 spawn of gold here. And then there's the full 9 pile of gold over here. So the 8 spawn of gold over here tells you you're pretty close to an enemy. Roughly 30 tiles at maximum. So if this is an enemy spawn, and you know it cannot be here because of the gold, technically it could be here. If you explore this way, you'll run into this gold and know it won't be here, but usually you don't want to explore corners when you're looking for enemies, because if they spawn here, you probably won the game anyway, they'll have no extra food. Enough about that. So you find this and you go further and you're like, yeah, there's a wood here, there's a hill here. This hill is closer to the enemy because you know you came from this side, from the right, so you know he has to be to the west over here. So you probably make your racks over here on the edge of the hill, or maybe you make it here nearer to the gold. This is a little bit further away. You know if you walk a little bit further from the gold, you'll be closer to the enemy, depending on how hidden and how fast you want to hit them. So if you come here, you've seen this gold, then you see these 2 berries. Again, they're really far, so you can tell that it's in this area for the town center. Then if you see this stone here, and you count that stone, and you're like, okay, this is an 8 stone, this is a full 8 stone. So you know you're really, really close to an enemy town center. Now, probably at this point you'd see villagers, so going by this, you can know where you are. If you look for how much stone there is, and how much gold there is in a gold mine. So if you're painting an enemy, you want to make a proxy racks over here. That's a very easy decision to make once you come around and you see this gold. The same applies for the enemy, of course. So if this player here started to go left over here, he says, oh, this goes to a narrow point. That's probably not the way where you will find the enemy. So he'll probably be like, but there's a lot of food. This is probably safe. Now, it could cut away from here pretty fast, but it's very likely that you'll have safe food over here. So you might want to move your eco to this side. Just wall this off and play slings from this hill, for example, because you can then protect your stone and you've got a nice hill to defend yourself from. It's an easy wall to here and it's an easy wall to here to the edge if you need to, because your granary would be here. Now if you go to explore the other way, the same thing applies in reverse. So you see this, you know, okay, the enemy isn't here, so you're not super close. Then you continue going, you see the berries, you're like, that doesn't tell me much. Then you maybe see this and you're like, 7 stone here. So I'm somewhere in the ballpark. And then you see this turn in, you're like, okay, 100%, this is where the enemy is. If this continued going here, like the forest edge would go all the way around here, you would know that he would have to be here because it wouldn't have enough space over here, and there's the stone, so it would be here. Then maybe you see this hill and you're like, okay, I'll place slings from this hill, I'll deny his further stone. You know he has another stone somewhere, but at least you've got control of one. And then you've got a couple of wood lines that you have control over, and it seems to turn nicely into an open area, so you have time, space to maneuver, and it nicely defends you from this side as well, because it's very easy to close if somebody tries to go over here. And then if you explore it a little bit further, you see the gold, and you're like, okay, this is a full 9 pile of gold here. So now you know you're very, very close, and you definitely want to make your axe at this point, and not walk any further, because you're probably right in their base, like 15 tiles from your town center. So that's how to play Oasis, how to read Oasis, and hopefully this was helpful to you, and best of luck on the battlefields.